When you're a guy in our position, who can you really trust? Who really has your back for real? When you're somebody that doesn't fit into society's norms, you don't obey society and all of its rules and regulations. You kind of have your own way of thinking, and you see outside the makeshift matrix, and you see outside all the things that make people sheep. You become a target in this world, and especially if you stand out, or if you don't stand out. If you're somebody that gets ignored, you're short, you have a different skin color configuration, and most of the time, girls ignore you, or girls tease you, or girls treat you a certain way. A lot of our mental issues comes from the fact that we didn't have no girls in our life, or a lot of girls growing up in our lives. We were rejected, we were not accepted, and we probably grew up in families that had, no economic stabilization, meaning that we had to suffer when we were younger, suffer when we're adults, and there's no regular 9 to 5 job that's going to get you out of poverty. And that's the worst thing when you think about it. No matter how hard you try, no matter what you do, you can never escape the fangs of poverty. Once those fangs of poverty got their clutches into you, it's very hard. And especially if you're somebody that doesn't want to live a normal life. You dream of certain things that some people will say are unachievable. You dream of owning your own business. But when you're a lonely guy in this position, nobody wants to see you achieve great things. They don't want you to do anything that's better than them. They don't want you to do anything that can put you above them economically, socially, and psychologically. A lot of warfare is psychological. And when you're somebody in our position, where the world already doesn't like you, you have to battle multiple wars on multiple fronts. It's like being in the Wehrmacht in 1942 on the Eastern Front. It's cold, it's devastating, there's enemy bombardments, enemy shrapnel fire, there's partisans in the forest waiting to slice your throat, and there's all types of belligerents and degenerates, all wanting to see you be obliterated, all vying for your position to fall. And one thing about being a regular person in this world, or a guy in our position, is that you don't even have to bother people. And yet you're forced to be around people that want to bother you. Have you ever noticed that sometimes you'll be having like an okay day? Let's say you wake up, let's say you got some kush or something, if you're lucky, roll up a little joint or take a little bowl hit, smoke a little kush, and maybe got a new video game that you want, and you play your little video game, you watch a little anime, you go on Instagram, you see your favorite Instagram whore, you wank off to her bikini pictures, and now you're in a good mood. Then all of a sudden, if you live with your parents, or if you live with, people that don't necessarily like you or have your back, somebody bangs on your door, or somebody tells you, hey, take the trash out, or do this, or do that. And though that seems small, it's like, okay, you take the trash out. That's fine. Taking the trash out is a normal human thing. But it's the way people say things. When people talk to you like you're a dog, like you're an animal, that can help break your confidence down as well. When people see that you don't have anything that they can deem worthy, they'll try to treat you like you're some type of subservient robot, And taking the trash out or doing things like that's fine, right? But it's when you're a certain age and you're getting talked to crazy. When you're 25 years old, hell, 21 years old, some people even 18. And especially if you're in your 30s and you still get talked to crazy, you're still in the same predicament you was in high school. It never changes, All the pain and all the things that you went through in this world, it gets worse as you get older, honestly. Take it from somebody that really knows this, from personal experience. They like to say that life gets better as you age, but that's not true. If you're not handsome, tall, rich, and successful, life is going to get more brutal as you get older. This world is truly designed to break you. This world is designed so you can always be subservient to others. And the worst part about it is no one cares about your pain as a man. No one cares if you lost family members multiple years at a time. When you go to a job interview, when you go there, they don't care. They're gonna look at your work gap in history, and they don't care if you got kicked out, you're homeless, you lost all these people, you're going through psychological issues. All they gonna care about is how come you wasn't working this last few years or whatever, and what were you doing. And if you be honest with them, they're not going to hire you. If you just tell, but you got to play that social role. You try to say, oh, let's say if, I was selling art online. They look at that like, what? Because these people don't understand that there's other ways of making money besides a 9 to 5. Everybody's been so brainwashed. Everybody's been so trained to just be subservient to the system. And it's designed that way. The system doesn't want you to know that you have options. But when you're somebody in our position, the world doesn't want you to win. The world doesn't want you to be successful. The world wants you to break. This is something that they want. Look at all the things you've been through in your life. I want you to think critically. Think right now. What was the last thing that really made you mad, that really genuinely pissed you off? And was that the first time it happened? Or has it been a series of cycles that has been happening? Somebody asked me a question in my last video. And I thought I'll just give it a response when he was like, do you think you're a good person? And I say, honestly, yes, I think I'm a good person for the most part. I don't bother nobody. I stay out the way, Then he was talking about, how if people like us get power, will we be evil? Well, let me tell you something about, if we had power or whatever. If I have power, would I be evil with it? What do you mean by evil with it? The people that run the world today who have power, they're legitimately evil. We don't just say these people are evil because they have power. That's ignorant. We say they're evil because they cause world wars. They put stuff in our food to give us cancer. They do things with freaking children on Epstein's Island. They program our minds, they hide advanced technology from us, and they make sure that we're ignorant to the truth of this world. That's evil and that's wicked. If I was in control of this world, it would be a lot different, point blank, it wouldn't be a prison system. I probably wouldn't even be on this planet. And if I had control of this planet, I'd make me like a little Starfleet and leave it. You guys can have this dirty world. But being in power doesn't automatically mean that you have to revert to evil. But the people that are ruling us right now, that are in power, and the God who's ruling us right now is undeniably evil. We're not just saying these people are evil just because we're just talking out of our asses. We have legitimate evidence that these people are evil. They have Area 51 bases and subclasses. They make chimeras. They have human cloning and all types of things that they don't tell the public about. And I can go on and on and on about their treachery to humanity. The things that run the world are not human. The reptilian, shape-shifting aliens. And that sounds crazy when you first hear it. But what did they call Satan in the Bible? They called him a 7-headed dragon that fell from heaven. What did they call Yaldabaoth? He has the face of a lion and the body of a serpent, a dragon. Doesn't matter what you believe or not, but all I know is what's real. And what's real is that whoever runs this world, they're legitimately evil. They have all the power. Think about it. How many lonely men are in the world who could use a girlfriend in their life? And yet instead of addressing the issue, they call you an incel. They call you a criminal. They call you something that has a negative connotation and association instead of understanding your frustrations and your lack of sexual alleviations. Not everybody can have a pretty girl in their life. Because if every man was allowed to get a good girl in his life, he may get his mind right. But the problem with modern women is that all these modern women are whores, honestly. If you meet a modern day woman, the chances of her body count being 10 plus is like 98%. There's no way that a girl's like 21, 25 years old and she's a virgin. And people are telling me, hey, bring back those bot videos and stuff like that. And I'm like, Those videos hit a chord with a certain crowd of people and got people to attach themselves to me. When I made those Bop Dot videos, hit dogs holler. I was talking about blue pill normies and all that. And some of these guys who pretend to be like they're black pilled, but they're not black pilled. They're actually blue pillars or red pillars disguising themselves as black pilled. And they get obsessed with another grown man who they don't know. You know? It's very weird and strange. Some people in this world shouldn't even exist, you know? They're pathetic. They're weak in real life. And they have no charisma or motivation themselves, so they latch on to somebody that has some momentum. Say what you want about me, but I built up a channel that got 1,000 subscribers while homeless with nothing. There's people that have a house, a home, and everything, and they can't even get 100 views. And the views don't really matter, right? But it goes to show you that I have resilience, persistence, and resistance. But I have so many restrictions. If I would have just had a supportive base, my mind would have been right. Imagine if Taz Taylor was my best friend. How famous I would be, how rich I would be, how successful I would be. You know, imagine if Kay Beasley was my friend. Imagine if Johnny Giuliano was my friend. Imagine if Nick Mera was my friend. I would never be in this position of poverty. You know, stuck in this position. And then you got family members who watch your channel, which is just, it's extremely violating privately. Like, you don't want people in your family watching your YouTube channel. Like, this is my channel where I can just vent and think to myself, you know, and connect with people who connect with me. Not for people who hate me and my family, who did me wrong, and then they're trying to watch my videos and spy on me. It's really disheartening. You know, when I started this channel, I never knew all this would happen. I never knew that I would be doxxed and kicked out and left homeless and none of that. I was just a broke guy in this room with a broken phone and just talking from my soul, talking from my heart. I don't know why people chose to latch on to me. Just like what Sloth said, you know, there's a YouTuber I found named Sloth. He's a black guy. He's pretty cool. And he was talking about, I don't know why you people even listen to me. Like, you know, I feel that same way because I'm going through hell as usual, but I've been going through it, so it's nothing new to me. But it's like, I appreciate everybody that listens. I appreciate everybody that supports, you know. But, you know, understand that I've been going through things that would psychologically break most people. I was already damaged and in a bad position, and then people chose to attack me for no apparent reason. And it wasn't people, it was Yaldabaoth, it was the demiurge, you know. You got to think about how strong you have to be as a guy in our position to go through opposition, to go through battlefield to battlefield to battlefield, and still not snap and go ER. I have every reason to go ER. Every reason. What people did to me, what people said about me, and some of these people are still watching my channel right now. How do you do that to somebody and don't like them, but yet you watch their channel? What the heck? Like, people are just strange and weird. You know, you say you don't like somebody, but you're always checking up and seeing what they're doing on their channel. Like, who does that? Because I don't check on the people who do me wrong. I don't check up on them. I don't give a fuck about them. I just make my videos and mind my business. But they're looking at me. They're following my gravity. They're following my weight. You know? This world is evil, brutal, and foolish.